Hey guys, it's Simone here, and I wanted to jump on to talk to you guys about home parties. So, these are your girls' night outs. These are your pampering night in kind of thing, pampering events, girls' night. You can theme them. You can do some really fun things with them. But really, the thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is just a really quick overview of how I like to do my home parties and hopefully give you guys a better idea of how you guys can run yours. So everybody does them differently. We do have some graphics and different trainings on how other people run it, and some people do very they kind of run everybody through stations, and everyone does everything from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and they all do it in groups together, right? So that is one way that you can do it. Another way is just to do a very simple open house, especially this depends on your hostess. If your hostess is wanting to do an open house, so it's whoever comes between this 2-hour time slot, they can come check these products out. That's another way to do it. I do love having everyone there and starting together because it's just so much. It's a lot more fun to have that interaction and to have people kind of go through it together, especially if the hostess or some of the guests are familiar with the products. It's very nice to have them chime in and be like, oh my gosh, I love that. Or what about this? Like, tell me about this product that we were wondering about. So I love having it kind of as starting out as a group. Now, one thing that I want for all of you guys to keep in mind is that home parties, don't have to be complicated. Keep it simple. Do not stress out about not having enough of this, not knowing what to do, not having ever done one before, because the thing with home parties, as with anything, so like with vendor events or anything like that, is that it takes practice, it takes experience. It really just takes some time for you to kind of figure out what works best for you, what works best for your customers, what is the best way to do things. And so with my home parties, I have very laid back hostesses, and my hostesses they know me, they are familiar with my personality, they know that I'm not super extroverted and I'm not very salesy, and so the home parties that I have are very, very laid back. They're very low key. So what I usually do is I come to the hostess's house about 10 to 15 minutes beforehand, and I have my stuff, and I usually I try my hardest to bring everything in one load, because this is a way for me to make sure that I have the basics, the essentials. I don't need to have a billion things. This is not a vendor event. I don't need a table. I don't need a chair. I don't need, tablecloth, that kind of stuff, right? I don't need display items. So this is a very simple setup. So if I can bring everything in one load, that's usually kind of my signal that I may have brought too much if I have to go in for two loads. It really just depends on what you have on hand, though, okay? Now, obviously, talk to your hostess beforehand. Make sure you're doing your hostess coaching stuff. So keep that. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but check out the trainings for hostess coaching, because hostess coaching is very important to having a successful home party, okay? Now, so I like to come in 10 to 15 minutes early. I bring in my stuff. I usually have about 2 boxes of product. Let me show you guys what I have. So these are the types of boxes that I keep all of my product in. So let's see. So this is the kind of container that I have. It's very cheap, that you can get at the store. But so this is my box, and I have usually 2 of these. I can carry both of these in, and I have a shoulder bag. Now so this is how I like to do it, and I do this with my vendor events, but I do that at home just to keep track. But I have a different colored lid for my testers and different colored lid for like product, okay? And hold on, let me grab. This was further away than I thought it was. And then this is my bag that I carry. So this is an older Posh bag this is like from like year 1 of Posh, so this is like old school Posh stuff. But this is my bag of stuff that I take with me to any event. But I usually have 2 boxes because I have my testers in one box with a little bit of extra stuff. For example, my chunks aren't in that tester box, and I have, like, the chunks, the Snarky bars, that kind of stuff is not in that tester box. So I usually have 2 boxes of stuff, and then I have my bag. Now, the other things that I like to take with me to home parties are catalogs, obviously, right? You want to have catalogs. You want a good stack of them. I usually like to ask the hostess how many people she plans on expecting. Obviously, this is part of the hostess coaching. She should know, and she should be following up and asking people, who's coming, who's planning on coming. So I bring a good stack of catalogs so that everybody has, there's enough to go around. I also really like to take with me, if I can find it, a smaller pamphlet, like all about our ingredients. For those who really like to learn a little bit more about these products, this is a really great one to have on hand. If you don't have this, is okay. You can get it in the Posh portal if you really want it. This is just something that if I have it, I bring it. If I don't, it's okay. And then I also have with me, and if I can find them, my Posh wish list. This is a file that I should have in the team page, but this is just a very simple page that someone created that just lets people write down what they like. So they can go through the catalog, or they can go through trying the different products and writing down the things that they that they like, right? That they want to keep in mind when they are ready to order. And then I do have, which I don't have in here at the moment, is order forms. So order forms come in your starter kit. And they are, I don't know if they come in, I'm sorry. You can get them in the Posh portal. They used to come in starter kits. I don't think they do now. But you can use the order forms that Posh gives you, which are the carbon copy order forms. And you can get them in the Posh portal. You can use your perks to purchase them. They have 3 copies. They have a white, a yellow, and I believe a pink copy. So one of the carbon copies goes to the hostess to the customer after she orders. And then the other carbon copy, I usually put in the orders when I'm delivering them, and then the white copy is for my records, okay? So order forms of some kind. If you do not have the carbon copy order forms, that's okay. You can always go to an office supply store and grab a sales book and use that. Or you can use something like this, something that you just print off at home. This works perfectly fine as well. Order forms are not aren't something that you always have to have, and I'll explain that when I go through how I do my home parties. So different ways to take payment, there's different ways. So you don't always have to have order forms depending on how you want to run it. Now, the one thing that I think that has to be, that you should always have in your home party bag is some copies of the pricing at a glance, okay? This one is laminated, and this is something that you can purchase. So you can purchase the paper from the portal. They come in packs, like this. So they come in packs like this, and they come, I don't remember how many come in a pack, but there's that. You don't always have to laminate them. I have a laminator, so I laminate them just so they last longer in my bag. But I bring at least one of these. You can print them off in the portal as well, from the box. And this is actually what I find most people look at. They don't always look, most people, they kind of browse the catalog, but for the most part, if they're not super aware of what Posh is and they're not really sure if they're interested, they're going to glance at this. They're going to take a look at this. They're going to see, well, what is this? And then they'll start asking questions, like, what are these skin stick things? And, everything is very laid out for them in terms of pricing. They see that everything is very reasonably priced, and that's where they can look at this for when they're ready to order, or if they are just wanting an overview of what Posh is so that they can ask some questions. So always have the pricing at a glance. And then my other tip to always bring is a cash bag if you guys have it. have one. Doesn't have to be Posh, obviously, just something to hold all of your stuff. Your business cards, pens, pens, pens. I have to say it like 50 billion times because pens are like the one thing I always forget. So don't forget to bring pens because you want people to be able to use their wish list form without fighting over a pen. Bring your business cards, and yeah. So that is like the bare minimum for a home party. Now, let me just talk about how I go over how I run my home parties. So after my guests arrive, I kind of, I'm waiting for them and I'm kind of setting up because usually the hostess will expect me to kind of set up because that's usually what it is. I'm just hanging around while they're prepping and getting ready. I obviously ask if I can help, but for the most part, I am just sitting there waiting for people to come. So I do take some of my product out and I set it to wherever is most convenient. Maybe it's on the fireplace, maybe it's on the piano or a chair or a small table or a side table, coffee table, anything. And I kind of set up just a little bit just to see just so that people can see what I have. But I don't put everything out. I only put a few things out. So I don't put every hand cream. I don't put 8 hand creams out. I don't put all of our chunk bars out. Okay, so this is something I keep it as simple as possible. Now you can limit your home parties and only put in or only take certain things to each party so that if someone wants to host again, they can host again and maybe focus on different categories. So maybe one time you focus on face care and that is all you bring is face care. And then maybe another time they want to focus on skin and body and scrubs, and so you bring that the next time. So there's different ways you can do it, but for the most part what I do is I just bring everything. But I don't set everything out. I don't have everything available, I guess, or easily or out because it's overwhelming. So I do that. And then usually, they sit and they're ready for me to talk and they're ready for my presentation and my spiel, right? And this is something that, for me, I tell them a very quick snippet about what Posh is. Perfectly Posh is a natural-based pampering company. We have a lot of really amazing products at a very great price point. We use only the best ingredients. We don't use any of the junk that's in your more commonly used brands. A little bit goes a really long way. Everything's made in the U.S. It's usually more flowy. It flows better than what I just did. But I give them the spiel. This is what Posh is. And then I will, especially if the group is not familiar with Posh, then I kind of tell them a few of my favorites. So our chunk soaps are absolutely amazing. This one's my favorite because it has charcoal in it. These are sulfate free. They last forever. I love using this for my entire family, and I give them just a very quick, product review of why I love the Gender Bender. And if they are willing, pass this around and everyone smells. Same thing with a hand cream. I pull up a hand cream and I say, hey, our hand creams are spectacular because you only need a little bit each time you use it. They are non-greasy. We actually have apricot kernel oil and coconut oil in here. It absorbs into your skin very quickly. You don't have to worry about fingerprints everywhere, which is awesome. And I, might tell them a fun story about how my husband was very skeptical about our hand creams, and then he tried it, and he was like in awe. He hates lotion because of the greasy feeling, and this doesn't give him that. So it's your personal. You're not just a salesperson, but you're showing them why you love Posh, what your favorites are, right? And hopefully create some sort of need. Maybe somebody's like, hey, I hate lotion too. Maybe this is something that I really should check out. And then I'll pass out maybe a couple of cents. It really just depends. A couple of cents. Hey, this one's my favorite because of this, but this is also another favorite because of this, right? And then everyone can go around and be like, well, and they'll smell it, and they're like, no, you only needed a pea-sized amount, so they'll try it, and they're like, hey, ask them how they liked it. If they want to try different scents, I have them there if they want to try them, but then, I ask them and I interact with them. What did you guys think? Which one did you try? Oh, yeah. And then try to get some conversation going on in the group, because this is not just for them to talk to me and me to talk to them. This is a group thing. And what I love about home parties is that I can get out there and talk to like adults and to just watch people enjoy themselves, you know. So then I'll show them a few things, pass things around. But for the most part, my home parties are we sit around my sample box, and if they have questions of whatever interests them, whatever ailments they have, whatever they're looking for, then I can help them out. And in my mind, home parties can very easily break into one-on-ones. So some person is looking through the catalog and you see that they're looking at stuff, and they're kind of off looking at stuff while a group of other people are looking in your box. I like to go over and be like, hey, do you have any questions? Is there, is there anything I can help you with? And then they might ask me, well, yeah, what is this thing? Or, I have a really big problem with this. Like, do you have anything for that? And then it's a one-on-one, and then I'm able to talk to them about it and help them find something that works for them. And then, so basically we sit around, like usually on the living room floor or around a kitchen table, and just start pulling things out of my Posh box, my sample box. And it's super fun because it can try things out. I love to encourage people to get into it and try the BFF, try a face mask. And it really just depends party to party. So if you do have a party that's your hostess really wants to focus on a certain line or something like that, a certain category, you can always do that. You can just very much focus. This is our face care step, like my preferred and suggested routine. The BFF, a off mask, an on mask, a moisturizer. Top it off with a lip scrub or something like that, right? So it's very, very super. It's very fun. It's very engaging. You want people to interact. You really want people to try, because this is the time for them to get into it and really see what the difference is with how different Posh is from whatever it is that they're using. Okay. All right, so that is kind of like the interactive part of the party. And then I usually like to, I don't always, I mean, it depends. I don't always pass out catalogs to everybody. I usually just kind of start, and I have a stack of catalogs and a stack of wish list forms on like the ground or wherever it is, like next to my Posh box, so that if anybody wants something, and I ask, do you guys want a catalog, and I ask them. I don't pass it out to everybody just because I want people to just kind of listen to me for a second and figure out what Posh is before being overwhelmed with a bunch of stuff, okay? But again, that is how I do it. That is not necessarily how everyone else does it, because eventually everyone does end up getting a wish list form and a pen and a pricing at a glance or a catalog, and then they're usually passing stuff around. So, all right, so that's kind of how I run my parties. And then as we're kind of going through it, people are going through their order forms, and they're like, okay, well, I know I want this, and then they just naturally decide, this is what I want. And they start writing it down. They're like, well, where do I write this? Like, how do I order? Where do I put this? And give them the order form, whatever you're using as your order form, and help them fill it out. If they have any questions, make sure to remind them of the buy 5 get the 6 free. If you are using order forms with the lines, you want to try to highlight. What's really great is to highlight the 6th line on all of your order forms, so that if people missed it on the buy 5, missed the fact that we have buy 5 get the 6 free, they can ask, what is this for? Like, why would I, and they visually see that, hey, they've already put in 3 items. If they put 2 more items in, then they get a 6th item for free. So that is kind of a really fun way to do that. Very easy for people to just visually see the deal, right? All right, so people tend to just start putting stuff in, or writing their orders down, and that's when you're kind of winding down. So when people are ready to check out, and they're ready to get their orders in, you can take their order forms and either do cash or card or check if you want, or Square. So there's different ways to collect payment at a home party, okay? Now you can take cash, And if you're doing cash, then make sure you have some small change on hand so that you can give them change. But you are basically collecting all of their payments, all of their order forms, and then you're going to go home and take these, put these orders in and get your product in, get their party order in. I usually, you can either get it shipped to yourself or get it shipped to the hostess. If you're doing one big thing, or you can do it where everyone has their own cart and so that it'll get shipped to every individual home. And in that case, you can put orders in, help them create their Perks account and put their orders into their carts in the for the hostesses event, right? So there's different ways to do it. My hostesses are local, and their guests are very local to them. So usually I will have the order shipped to me, and then I will package them all up cute and separate all of them, and then deliver it to the hostess. So it gives me another touch with the hostess, and then the hostess can deliver them out to her guests, right? So that's how I like to do it, but you can do it in different ways. Collecting payment. For anybody that is kind of like freaking out because they don't have any inventory, you don't need inventory for a home party. You can go solely off of your starter kit. You can go solely off of whatever you have on hand. You don't need to have every single product. Like I said, it's overwhelming to even put out every single product or to talk about every product line. I don't go through every product. I don't go through every product line. I go through some of my favorites, and then if someone's like, hey, you have foot stuff or you have hair stuff, what is this, or what is this scrub thing that that's here, then I'll talk to them about it. But for the most part, I don't tell them about every single thing because it's too overwhelming. All right, so if you are taking, all right, so different things. Oh, if you're taking multiple, like lots of payments and you want to keep it simple, you can always have everybody like write a check or cash to the hostess, and then the hostess writes one check to you, and that just makes it that keeps everything simple. You don't have to worry about any problems with checks or anything like that. If you're doing card, you can always put their information in the event on the website, or you can take their card information on the on the order form. Make sure that you shred their information afterward, or you can always take their card there with a card reader. So run their card there with Square or whatever it is that you're using. And I have found that I enjoy doing that just because I don't want to deal with trying to read people's card information. I don't want to deal with like holding on to people's cards. So it really is how you want to do it. Yes, there are fees, but it really is just what works for you. Okay, thank you, Amanda. I totally could not remember how it works. So if you're a new consultant, you can use the Redeem tab and get free order forms and catalogs, right? I thought it was, okay, yeah, so it doesn't come with your starter kit, but it is free. You can grab it with your first order. So thank you for saying that. I completely forgot. Yeah, so you can use the order forms, especially if you're new and you don't have that budget on hand, then you can always use the order forms and take all of their information there and then go home and put it all in the computer. If you have access to a computer and Wi-Fi at your hostess's house, you can always just do it there as well. So it really just depends on what works best for you. But home parties are really the best, I think the best way to this is where you're going to get your business is going to grow. You're going to be, the party itself is like 2 hours long. You have prep work obviously before and prep work afterwards, so there are more hours you put into it. But for the most part, you're going to get a great, return of investment. Depends on from party to party, obviously, but what's great is that you have connected with your hostess, so you have formed hopefully a better relationship with your hostess. You have now formed a better relationship with her guests, so you've reached out more into your cold market. You hopefully are getting contact information and adding these people or inviting these people to your VIP group, so that you can stay in contact with them later. This is a really great way to network and get out there, and you're going to be able to get some orders in, and it's just a very, very, it's very fun, but it's very it can be really rewarding as well. All right, so home parties don't have to be super scary. So just want to keep that in mind. Keep it simple. Mine aren't super. I don't do a whole lot of crazy stuff. There are a lot of other things that you can do. You can do different booking games. You want to make sure that you are trying to book off of the party you're at, obviously, so that you can keep your parties going. And I've talked about that before, but you want to do I recommend doing some sort of booking incentive, so that your hostess can get something, or if they book something, both of your hostess and whoever books gets a prize. And it doesn't have to be anything major, but it's just a really great way for them to decide and pick a calendar date that night, and so that you can get more events into your calendar and to keep going with your business, right? So if you can book 3 off of a party, that is really great because you have one party now that replaces the party that you just did, one party to grow your current business, and then a third party as your just in case either of those other two fall through. Because sometimes things happen. Sometimes your hostess has some emergency, or just things happen, and it's understandable. So it's really great if you can kind of do that. So there are different booking games, and there's different other like fun things that you can do for your party. Different themes you can always throw in, but this is kind of the very basic simple layout. This is what I like to do with my parties, but usually my hostesses are, they already know me. They're repeat hostesses. They like that I just kind of hang out. So it really just depends on the crowd. And if you're somebody that is a little bit more, you love having that planning and the steps and having something super fun, then throw that in there, because if that's part of you and part of your branding, your guests they're gonna love that. They're gonna connect with you and remember you for whatever different things that you're adding to your party. So this is, like I said, a very basic skeleton of how you can run your home parties. Yeah. So do you guys have any questions? Is there anything else I can help you guys with? All right. Okay. So, if you guys are watching this later and you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I just really wanted to jump on and talk to you guys about this today in case anyone had any questions. I'm here for you guys, so if you guys have questions afterward, let me know, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day.